Hi everyone, it's Andrea Tooley. Thank you so much for watching this video. Today I want to talk about a question that I get a lot and that I've recently gotten in an email, and that is a question about what kind of college to choose if you are pre-med. And the big question is, should I choose a small liberal arts college or a big public school type college? And so I have no huge knowledge base on this subject except for my experience and what I've learned from my friends and colleagues who have gone through the pre-med process, but I will share everything I think that you guys need to know, and I hope this is helpful. Okay, so let's start with some kind of pros and cons in terms of big schools versus small schools. So one thing in general, I think, is that you need to really do a lot of soul searching and decide if you are a big school person or a small school person. I think there are lots of different types of people, and you know yourself. Are you going to thrive in a huge tens of thousands of people type university, and do you really want that huge university type feel? Or are you someone who would be happier at kind of a small, close-knit, more intimate type of environment? And one way that you can, I think, get a sense for that is just doing college tours and going to see different schools and go on the tour across campus, kind of see how the tour guide, generally the tour guides at school are students who go to school there. I was actually a tour guide at Butler when I went to school there. And so you can get a feel for how they kind of interact with the school and what they think about going there, but you're going to need to decide what type of environment you are going to thrive in, because that's the biggest thing. I don't think one has a distinct advantage over another. It's going to be whatever you do best in. So for me, for example, I think that I didn't really know this when I was applying for college, and I kind of ended up at Butler by accident because I got a scholarship and ended up having to go there. I mean, not having to, but choosing to go there because of the scholarship that I got. And Butler is a very small school, and by going there, I realized that I succeed in a smaller environment so much better. I really loved the small class size. I liked getting to know my professors on a more personal level. You know, we would go out to dinner with our professors, or we would go to their homes. We had very small study groups, and everybody in class knew everybody, which I loved. And then I also really loved being involved on campus, and I felt like it was easier to get involved at a small school because everybody knows everybody, and you just hear about all these opportunities. So I was involved in student government, and I was in a bunch of different clubs and those kinds of things, and I felt like going to Butler, it was just easy to know about all of that. And you know, it's a small school, so there's not that many people who want to be involved in all of those things. And so if you are really passionate about being in leadership and doing all this volunteer stuff and just being very involved with the school itself, it's easy to do at a smaller school. So that's one advantage I think that a smaller school has over a bigger school. But again, it depends on what you like better, because a bigger school is going to have more resources. And so a bigger school might have bigger labs with research opportunities that you can get involved in. So at Butler, there were a few labs doing research, but really nothing in a medical sense. They were doing more like biology or botany type research, but not a lot of medical type things because it wasn't associated with a medical school. So if you're going to a huge undergrad that's associated with a medical school, that's a huge advantage because you can get involved in the medical school, you can start doing research projects with them, and you can kind of get yourself inserted into that. Versus a small liberal arts school that doesn't have a medical school associated with it, you're kind of on your own. And so I think that's one big advantage as well. Another thing, and I've made a video about this, which I'll link below, about Greek life for pre-meds. So I was in a sorority, and I absolutely loved my experience in a sorority. I think that it helped me get a lot of volunteer activities. I made lifelong friends. My best girlfriends are from my sorority. It was just a fun, supportive environment to be in when I was a stressful pre-med. And I think you can be in Greek life in a small school or a big school. So that's probably not something that would differ between the types of universities. So not as much something to think about. And then another thing you need to think about is price. So in general, these smaller liberal arts schools tend to be more expensive versus a large state school, which is probably less expensive and might have different opportunities for scholarships or financial aid or things like that. And so that I don't think that the finances should be the main deciding factor in where you go, but I think it needs to be something that you consider because it's going to affect you for the rest of your life, the amount of student loans you have to take and just your kind of quality of life and how you're living because of the expense of school. So that's something else to think about. So really do some soul searching. Decide, are you kind of a big fish in a small pond or a small fish in a big pond kind of person? Do you want to be in huge classes and kind of be anonymous and do your own thing? Or do you want to be in a class where it's very small, so if you're not there, they're going to know you're not there? Do you want to be able to experience like the huge big school type of experience, or are you not so into that? And those types of things I think are very important for you to think about, especially if you know that you want to go to medical school and if you know where you want to go to medical school. Like if you're dead set on going to some state medical school, then going to that state undergrad might be beneficial because you can get in with the med school, you can start doing research, you can have mentors that are affiliated with the medical school, and those kinds of things. So I think those are big issues and that you need to decide for yourself, and one is not completely better than another. One other thing I will say, which I have just recently realized, or not even realized, but I've just recently decided that I think this is more important than I used to think, is the name of where you go to school. And I want to preface this like times a million. I think at the end of the day, wherever you go to college for undergrad does not matter. It really doesn't. You know, I went to Butler, which was this tiny school in Indianapolis, and now I'm a resident at Mayo Clinic, and it's like, it doesn't matter at all. I didn't go to Harvard or Princeton or whatever, and I'm doing just fine. And so I think that at the end of the day, you can still get to where you want to go no matter where you went for college. I think you can start off at a community college and transfer to a different institution. I think that if you have that personal drive and the motivation to see it through to the end, because this is a long road, medicine in any sense is a very long road, then no matter what path you take to get there, like you're going to get there and you're going to be just fine. So don't stress about the name of the institution. And that's what I've believed forever. Like that's really been my opinion and my thought, that it doesn't matter where you go to undergrad, and it really doesn't matter where you go to where you go to medical school either. And the big thing that matters most, I think, is the residency. And that's going to set you up for getting a job. That's going to give you the best training. I think that residency is almost the one where the name matters the most. And that's been my belief for years and years and years, having gone through this process. However, recently, after going through the process of applying for fellowship and interviewing with all of these just remarkable people and meeting people from all over the country, I've started to think that the pedigree, in a sense, that you have from your undergrad and your med school and then your residency does matter a little bit more than I thought it did. And the reason I think that is because going to a good school kind of begets going to another good school. And if once you have yourself established as a good name, I think it opens more doors, or it's easier. I'm not sure exactly how to say this, but I do think that I interviewed with all of these people who went to Stanford undergrad and Harvard Medical School, and now they're at Yale for residency, and it's just like, man, that says something. You can't look at somebody's resume and not notice that. And one of our fellows last year, who's now an attending at Mayo, she went to MIT for undergrad. She went to Yale for medical school. She did Mayo Clinic residency. That type of pedigree, I think, is just so impressive. And even if it doesn't necessarily make a huge difference, it's hard to not make assumptions about someone just based on that. Like, you immediately think, oh, this person is legit. Like, this person is super smart, just based on that kind of pedigree. And I do think that that initial first glance at your first page of your CV, where it says where you've gone to school, it just kind of creates this picture of who you are as a person. So all I'm trying to say by this is that at the end of the day, do not stress about where you're going in terms of the name of the place, because the most important thing is that you're going to be successful there. Because if you go to Harvard and you fail, then that's not helpful than if you had gone to Indiana University and been a superstar valedictorian. You know what I mean? But if you are choosing between two schools that you love and the finances aren't a huge issue and there's not all these things, then maybe I would have that name be like a tiny important part. Whereas I used to think like not a big deal at all, don't worry about it. Now I do think that I wish that I had cared maybe more about the names of the places that I was going, except I don't think I would change anything because I've gotten to where I want to be and matched into my dream fellowship kind of without that big pedigree. But I don't know, something to think about. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this and the name of where you go and kind of how it can influence your future opportunities and jobs and career advancement and things like that, just kind of based on where you've been and where you come from. I'd be very interested in what you guys think. So leave some comments below. Maybe we can have a little discussion, because like I said, I did not think anything about this until really just like a couple months ago, where I thought, man, maybe I should have tried to go to some bigger name school, or maybe I should have tried to I don't know, but again, like I said, I wouldn't change anything, and I feel like my path, even though I didn't go to the biggest name medical school, I went to Indiana University, which is a great state school, amazing medical school, but again, it's not Harvard, and I don't think it matters. I don't think it's made a difference in my life. So, back to the original question, small liberal arts school versus big public school, which is better for pre-med? Look at what kinds of pre-med programs they have, if they have a very strong pre-med group, and what kind of opportunities they have. Look at the statistics, what percentage of pre-meds or what percentage of people applying to medical school actually make it to medical school. What percentage of people are allowed to apply to medical school, because I've heard of some undergrads not even allowing you to apply to medical school if you haven't kind of met a certain academic standard for them, what their MCAT rates are, all of these things. All of this is going to be data that you can help decide what the best school is for you. But at the end of the day, it's where you feel the most at home, you feel the most comfortable and the most happy, because that is where you're going to be the most successful. And you want to feel good because you're going to be studying at midnight and not going to parties at times and making all these sacrifices to go to medical school. And so you want to be somewhere where you're happy and somewhere where you're glad that you're a student there and that you're working hard at that institution. So I hope that answers some questions. Again, I'd love to know what you think about the name of the institution. So leave your comments below, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.